All right, everybody, what are we driving? Well, here's what we're driving. Thanks for joining. Thanks for taking a look. If you know me and you know how I like to present a vehicle and do my videos, I like to show you the outside real fast before we hop in and go for a drive. We're gonna go take this nice truck for a drive on the city and the freeway. If you want to see more details about the exterior and the interior and the engine and the underneath, you'll have to check out my walk around video. Sorry for the bouncing. I have a walk around video on my channel right next to this one, and you can check it all out and see me tell you all about it. All right, seatbelt is on. Driving. We're gonna drive. Look at the miles. 2012. 118,547 miles. All the gauges working correctly. The gas tank is nearly full, by the way. It runs great, it drives great, it shifts great. It's a nice truck for the money. I talked about that on the walk around video many times because I want everyone to understand that it's not a perfect truck cosmetically. And that's why the price is the price. Now, before we go too far, I want to tell you, on the walk around video, I talked about this, and now driving and in this cabin with nothing on, no fan on, no radio on. As I accelerate, you can probably hear that, right? Hang on a second. There's a cool truck. Look at that old Toyota. It's about an 84. Okay, so listen when I accelerate. So there's that little ticking air sound, right? That's the exhaust manifold. Has a very small leak on this truck. I talked about it on the walk around video. It is what it is. If you want to fix it, go right ahead. It does not affect anything. It doesn't hurt anything. It's not going to cause you any problems. It's not going to change the fuel mileage. Literally isn't going to do a thing. It's a little louder when it's first cold, and it gets quieter as it warms up. So that's one flaw of this truck. It's all good. It runs and drives great. Everything works. The four-wheel drive works correctly with this dry pavement. I'm not going to demonstrate that for you, but I'm telling you it works fine, the four-wheel drive. Everything works on the truck except the flaws being the cosmetic things on the body that you can see in more detail in my walk-around video. A little bit of rust near the rear wheel wells, which is extremely common on this generation. There's a dent on the bed on the right side. There's a dent on the tailgate, and there's a little bit of a dent in the back bumper. But you know what? The bumper's still there, still doing its job. All the lights work on the back. The tailgate opens and closes fine. So what is a truck if not to be a truck and get a little beat up? That's how I feel. But nowadays, you got these urban cowboys that are buying $100,000 pickup trucks, and they don't even put anything in the bed. They put bed covers on the bed. And they don't even know why they bought a truck other than to outdo their neighbors, you know? So, like that guy right there. Look, nice house. $700,000 house. Got a red Silverado in the driveway. I don't know if you can see that. It's all pretty sitting there, but probably ain't hauling nothing. So, that's my opinion. I just like to throw in a little bit of my opinion as I kind of have your attention while we drive. So nice and smooth here. We're gonna go through some city streets here, and then we're gonna go out to the freeway as well. So you can just ride along the whole time if you want to see it all. It shifts perfect. It drives nicely. It drives straight. I did also mention on the walk around video a couple other negatives of sort. The air conditioning is not cold, and it could use charged on this truck. So you've got that. And the tires have some life, but they will need to be replaced at some point, more sooner than later. So they're okay for now. They ride and roll nicely. They've got some tread, but they're not brand new. But it does have new parts, as I mentioned on the other video. It has a fresh oil change. It has a new oil pressure switch. It has new front brakes and rotors, so front brake pads and rotors. Also has a new battery. The battery's a couple months old, but it's basically as good as new. So new battery, new front brakes and rotors, fresh oil change, new oil pressure switch. That's a lot of nice new stuff. You know, you want to fix that exhaust manifold, go ahead. You want to replace the back bumper, go ahead. It's a great deal at the price that it's at. It's a fair price. It's a very good deal. It's a nice truck for the money. Also, this door panel right here, if you saw when we first got in, also brand new. Very common on these trucks in this time period. Door panels to go bad, peel, this armrest part to kind of just become like a limp fish and be all floppy and messy. This one had that problem, you know, because even though it has 118,000 miles, it still has a little bit of age on it, and obviously was actually used to be a truck. So this door panel is brand new from GM, not a used panel, not a junkyard panel. That's a brand new door panel and a brand new master window switch. So both are brand new, and there you have it. This engine, I'm not an absolute expert on every detail, but this 5.3 liter engine is stellar and has a fantastic reputation of durability, reliability. Look how nice and straight the steering wheel is. Nice smooth road here, but 50 miles an hour. We're gonna get going faster once we get to the freeway. Great reliability, great durability, used widely amongst many GM platform trucks and SUVs. It's been around a while, just like the old 5.7 liter that everybody loved. That was a great motor too. This is probably just as good in other ways, and it does get better fuel economy than the old 5.7s. Speaking of which, this is 21 miles to the gallon on the freeway. That's what it's rated, factory. You better turn, CRV. And 15 in the city. So 15 city, 21 highway. There we are at 50 miles an hour again. When the transmission shifts into overdrive early, like right there at 50 miles an hour, you hear that manifold just a little more. But again, once you've, you know, that's why I always make a point to say when there's something noise related, I've got the air all the way down, just a little bit of air at the very lowest speed right now. I've got the radio completely off, you know, or the volume completely down. You know, you get in here talking or on the phone, or you have the fan going, or you have the radio on, you know, you're not going to probably even hear that exhaust manifold sound. But my opinion, hey, there's another. You see these trucks everywhere. That one was newer than this one, but you see these trucks everywhere. This truck with 118,000 miles has a lot of life left. A lot of life left. Oh, look at that. There's a little newer than this also, but one right there. They are everywhere. Look at that beautiful sun getting ready to set. I haven't done a driving video this late in a while. I got the dash lights on and the headlights on. That 4Runner's missing a marker light. Kind of nice because the traffic should be light everywhere we're going. Truck really rides nice and has very minimal road noise. That's another thing I've always liked about Chevy trucks and Chevy products. I drove a Denali for many years, a GMC Yukon Denali. Really liked that, and was basically the same as a truck, you know, on the cab part of it, the inside. Seats comfortable. The headroom in this thing is you could probably be 7 foot tall and still be okay. I'm just a little over 6 foot tall, and I've got probably 8 or 9 inches above my head to this ceiling right now. So lots and lots of headroom, lots of width, you know, hip room, leg room. I mean, there's room for days in this truck. Leather wrap steering wheel's nice on this package, you know, gives it a nice touch. Just feels a little more finished, of course, being a LT trim and having the stuff that it has. And a Z71. Z71 package gives it a little bit taller off-road suspension, some skid plates, a few things, but it's nice and gives it a nice look. This has nice 18-inch wheels on it that were part of, I think, part of the Z71 package, I'm pretty sure. Also has the skid plates and a heavier duty air filter on the Z71. And we're going towards the freeway, guys. I don't know if I said this already, but I'll say it again. 2 owners on this truck. 2 owners. The previous and most recent owner had it since 2014 when it had 39,000 miles. So he basically added 80,000 of the miles on the truck. Bought it as a certified truck when it was just a couple of years old. So he had it for the lion's share of the time and the miles. And yeah, clean Carfax. I mean, even though it's obviously backed into something on that back bumper a little bit, but clean Carfax anyway. It is a clean title. I didn't say that on the walk around video, but I guess that's something you gotta say nowadays. Auto Trader is advertising now clean title on their website. If you guys, any of you are car enthusiasts, check it out. It kind of surprised me that they needed to put that on there, because there's so many people and dealers and just in general cars out there for sale that aren't a clean title. And I'll go on my soapbox for a minute and tell you that you just have to be very, very careful if you're going to buy something that's not a clean title, that's been salvaged or wrecked or damaged in some way. The more you know about it and the more that can be proven about its history, the better that I would feel. But you got to look at when it happened relative to what the car was worth. Because if you're talking about, you know, like this truck, and you got in a minor collision that was the hood, a fender, I'm not saying this truck is this, I'm just giving it as an example. You know, a hood, a headlight, a fender, and a bumper, it might be enough to total it. But realistically, if it's not that bad a damage, or maybe it was from a deer, you know, then I'm okay with that for the person that buys it back from their insurance and puts it back together, or has a body shop do it, or whatever they do. But again, the more you know for fact about what's been done, the better. And I don't know why I'm talking about all that right now, because it doesn't apply to this truck. But just a little side note, I like to try to give tips and advice. I think the most recent car that I've worked with that had a rebuilt title in a long time was a Jaguar that is on my channel. There's videos about it. Now, that particular car had hit a deer, and there were photos and evidence and body shop bills on what had been done, and it was so minor. It was just the fender and the hood, just a little wrinkle and a broken headlight, I think. I mean, that was totally not a big deal and totally worth fixing, and that's why somebody did. Here we go onto the freeway. But again, that car had documentation of all that stuff, which made it very much acceptable in my opinion. All right, there we are at 72, 73 miles per hour. Not quite sure what is blowing out of the back of that Silverado, but that Silverado's got a grill in the bed and all the ashes. Maybe those are hot coals, who knows? I don't want to be behind that. pencil. Can't you see that? I swear sometimes the things that I see on my videos, it's almost like I planted it to be there. It's so comical. So here we are cruising 75 miles per hour. It is smooth and nice. Steering wheel is nice and straight, very nice. Let's see here, over here. Just engaged our cruise control, and you can see the little light there on the dash. I have the cruise control on. It is working as it should. Turn that off. Really, wind noise isn't real bad on this truck. It's very reasonable. And it's a nice, comfortable ride. We're gonna go a couple more miles down here. We're headed east right now. Speaking of, hold on a second. Ew, dear. There's the compass, if you can see it down there by the odometer. Shows you the compass and the temperature right there. And then that screen has a slew of other information of fuel mileage information, trip odometer, all kinds of things there in that screen. Transmission temperature, you can see that digitally in that screen as well. Pretty common, but kind of nice to have. See now, cruising at cruising speed, once you get up to cruising speed, whatever that cruising speed is, I mean, for the most part, you really don't hear that exhaust leak, the manifold leak, unless you're pushing on the accelerator. But if you're just cruising, you don't really hear it. You can definitely hear that motorcycle. Look at that guy. Nice and straight and smooth, you guys. Just a good old truck. It's not even that old. One of my favorite vehicles I've owned, 1988 Ford F-150. That was a simple truck. I talked earlier here, right, about how a truck should be used as a truck. I used my truck as a truck when I had that truck for many, many years, and it was as basic as it gets. It was a manual transmission. It had crank roll down manual windows. It had no air conditioning. Not that it didn't work, it just didn't have it. We're gonna exit here, and then we're gonna loop back around and go back the same way we came. And it had a sliding rear window and a regular cab and two-wheel drive and a long 8-foot bed. That is a pickup truck. And manual transmission too. Did I already say that? I mean, you had to work for everything in that truck. This truck is like driving my town car by comparison to my 88 F-150. What in the world? Look at all these orange barrels. Yeah, this is like lap of luxury. And then there's obviously the level far beyond this, as I mentioned earlier, with the folks that spend $100,000+ on pickup trucks, and good for them. But man, I wouldn't want it. I'd be afraid it'd get a scratch or a dent. And then they're not even using it as a truck. While we're at this red light real quick, and before it gets too much darker, this is the original window sticker for this very truck. Silverado LT, Greystone Metallic, 4-wheel drive, extended cab, 143-inch wheelbase LT. And then there's this slew of features and options here, and we gotta go because the light's green. But $36,000 new. This truck new nowadays. I didn't look, but I know and I guarantee, look at that pretty sky, every bit of $50,000+ for this truck. Guarantee it. $36,000. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money then, and it's a lot of money now. But you know what's not a lot of money? The price of this truck now. With its few flaws, you're getting a great deal on a nice truck. And as I said earlier, and I'll say it again, it's a lot of truck for the money. And as I said before, if it was perfect, it would cost a lot more money. So, great deal right here, you guys. Look at that, 80, 82, 83 miles per hour, still smooth and nice. There we are, literally driving into the sunset. Kind of like this nighttime drive and not a lot of traffic, I will say. I like that. I hope you've enjoyed. I'm gonna keep you rolling here till we get to the exit, but give a thumbs up if you like what I do. Ring the bell, subscribe to my channel. Makes my son think I'm cool. Appreciate your views, appreciate your comments. Please leave your suggestions, your feedback. If you own a truck like this and it has 300,000, 350,000, 400,000 miles, I know they're out there, and I've had other people comment on some of my other videos sometimes to my point of what I'm saying to you here. If you've owned it for a long time and you have some nice constructive feedback to offer other viewers, feel free to say so in the comments, or some tips or advice or pointers. Go right ahead. Use the comments as a discussion board. Please keep it constructive, and love to hear people's stories about their vehicles or their comments thereof. I did a video on an Toyota Avalon that had low miles, kind of like this truck. I think it was 110, and a guy commented it, and his had getting close to 500,000 miles, like 440,000, and it was just incredible. I mean, literally 4 times the mileage of the car that I was doing the presentation on. So, very neat. So, here's the gauges up close if you want to see as we're cruising. 210 on the coolant, 14 something volts on the battery, 40 PSI on the oil pressure, and we've still almost got a full tank of fuel. We could go all the way to Texas. Here's this, 278 miles to empty. Average economy, probably off a little while. Right there is kind of cool too. You can do a digital speedometer. I forgot about that. Some people like that. See that right there on the left? So digital speedometer. And then there's your transmission temperature I was telling you just a moment ago. So you can watch your transmission temperature, particularly if you're towing something. So kind of nice. Instant fuel economy, and then back to the mileage. And then in the vehicle settings, there's all kinds of stuff you can do with the lights and the horn and all kinds of stuff. All kinds of setting stuff with the locks. But yeah, I forgot about that digital speedometer. That's a nice feature. That way you don't have to look at the gauge or the manual needle, even though it's pretty easy to read. That digital over there keeps it nice. Keeps it classy. All right, off the freeway. 118,000 miles, 2012, clean Carfax, 2 owners, bought as a certified Chevrolet, $36,000 new, 21 miles to the gallon on the freeway. I'm just recapping all the details here. I mean, don't you think this is a lot of truck for the money? I think it is. And if you're wondering what the money is, it's less than $10,000. I mean, where do you get a 4-wheel drive extended cab Z71 truck for less than 10 that doesn't have a bazillion miles. I saw one advertised on Auto Trader that had 300,000 miles and it was $6,200. So there you go. That's why this truck, with its few flaws, is such a great deal. There you go. The more you know. Oh, come on. Where's that water coming from? Don't splash. This truck's clean. We don't need any splashing going on. All right. Well, I think y'all have seen enough driving and hearing me ramble. Again, thank you for watching. Thank you for joining. Check out the walk around video for a lot more detail about the inside, outside, under the hood, under the truck. A lot of truck for the money. For the 10th time I've said that, it's a lot of truck for the money. 118,000 miles and just a good truck. Leave your comments and your subscriptions and say anything you like to say. Appreciate everybody, and we will see you next time. All right? Peace, everybody. Bye-bye. Look at that beautiful sunset.